Okay, on commence, almost 2 minutes late, which is fine. So I work here in Paris. So right now, this is a challenge actually that it's India is 4.5 hours ahead. So by the time I get free from office at 6 o'clock, it's almost 10:30 in India. So it's tough. But good news is that in 1 month's time, this time difference will reduce to 3.5 hours. So it will become a bit more easier for me to interact with team members if I need to. All right. Tout d'abord, bienvenue, Manoj, encore une fois, et Ishita.
Merci
We
beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
we are going to talk about quite a few things, but mostly about the company and myself, because today marks a very big day in this small company's not so large history. So, what I'm going to talk about today? So, I'm going to talk about origin of BBarters a little bit, like when did we start, how did we start, why did we start, and it's actually BBarters was not supposed to be what it is right now. So that was BBarters 1.0, which I'm going to briefly talk about, and then BBarters 2.0, which started in April 2020. I'm going to also talk about it a little bit. And today, I wouldn't say today is 3.0, but 3.0 is supposed to happen sort of it's as if everything goes to plan in 2025, about 2 years time from now. But honestly, the direction of the company is going to change from today, like 21st February 2023. We're going to change direction, but that's not going to happen in one night. So we are actually changing our boat a little bit from today, and eventually we will leave this boat and we'll get into a ship or a you know big ship, but that will happen in 2025. But we still have to go to that place where the ship is waiting for us. So today is the start of that journey where this boat is now turning today, and we are going towards that port where a big ship is waiting, and we're going to move into a ship. We When I say we, I mean BBarters. I mean, it's not necessary that we will all be together by the time that happens. Maybe none of you will be there. Who knows? I want most of you to be there, all of you to be there, but then 2 years is a long time, so who knows. All right, so with that, we are going to go through this. I'm going to present the past, the present, and the future a little bit. The reason for doing this is that as we change direction today on 21st of February, at the risk of me not doing my job in Paris and doing this in the middle of work day. So I do break rules. I always broken rules. Um, at the risk of doing that is because we are going to change the direction, and accordingly the expectations are going to change from today onwards. And I didn't want to just expect new things or expect different things without saying why this is happening. It is possible whenever there's a change, there's always resistance. Whenever we change things, people are used to doing some things in certain ways, and then they resist because things change, and we're all of us are resistant to change. So it helps sometimes if I explain why change and where this change might lead this company to. So hopefully that will work. That will give you some reasons to adapt, to understand, and to work accordingly. If not, that's fine. We will go our separate ways. But BBarters has now set on a course for 3.0. This is still 2.0, but today we mark our start on 3.0. And yeah, so you have to match that direction. Otherwise, I mean, you will work with us, but you'll not be part of the next phase, and which I want you guys to be. But it's important to explain the direction and why and everything. Okay, on commence, you guys know my name. You guys don't know a lot about me, but you guys know enough. Like, what is my name? Where do I live? What do I do? Sort of. The only thing I do is I'm a software person. I've always been a software person. So it's been almost 9.5 years since I work in software. It's not a very traditional career. Traditional career is that you graduate from a school like engineering school, and most of my classmates went to US to do masters. Most of my colleagues were in Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, some really really good universities. I did not, because did not want to do computers at all by the time I graduated. But But I ended up doing the same because I wanted to eat and have a house or something. For some reason, I just continued doing software throughout my life. So it's been 9.5 years. It hasn't been straightforward because I kept taking pauses, like a sabbatical, mini, sometimes smaller, sometimes bigger. I kept learning. I kept doing something new, like I studied screenwriting. I did Spanish. I did French. I did Internet of Things. So I always kept on taking pauses and breaks. And because of that, even though I'm like 9.5 years old in IT, I don't get the salary for that, or I'm not in the traditional position, leadership position in IT, because I did not, do the traditional things. I spent most of my time learning, my life learning, and the cost I paid was the lack of salary. Like, I wouldn't say lack of salary, but somebody who is of my experience and age, working in Paris, who speaks French, should earn so much more than what I earn here. And that doesn't even make me sad, because the amount of things I learned during these 9.5 years by not following the traditional route. Like, traditional route is you start in IT and you just keep working and you change the companies to increase your salary. That's what people do. You are not going to believe this. I have resigned from 4 companies. Like, I have totally worked for 5 companies. This is my sixth. I have never resigned when I already had another job. Manoj, you understand? Like, usually people are working, they are not happy with their salary, so they start giving interviews, they find another company with better offer, and then they resign and they directly join another company. That has never happened to me ever.
Yeah.
I have never resigned or left a company to join another company. It's so weird. I cannot explain, but it never. So every time I've left a company is to do something completely different. Either learn Spanish. One time I left to go to US to study movies. One time I left the company, Accenture, my first company, to become a teacher. So I started as IT guy, but I left it because I wanted to pursue my passion of teaching. So till now, I have not managed to leave a job to join another job with better salary. Never has happened, and this happens very, very often in IT. People usually do this. They work for a few years, couple of years, they switch, they increase their salary, and that's how they go. Never did it. I resigned 4 times, but never for another company, never for better money. It's always has been actually for less money, or either change of countries or something like that. So what does this tell you? Why am I even telling you all this? Is because money has never worked for me as a motivation. I mean, obviously, as I get older and I work more and more, my salary has naturally increased. But even then, it's nowhere near where I should be according to the traditional, whatever your career path. Money has never worked as a motivation for me. When I was in bachelor's, I was graduating from Maharashtra's presumably best engineering college after IIT Bombay. It's actually Asia's second oldest engineering college after IIT Roorkee. And I was not a very good student because I did not find it interesting. Teachers were really bad. I always got very bad teachers. So I did not find it interesting. And I wanted to write movies. And I thought I'm going to win a lot of Oscars by the time I'm 25. So I did not study much. And I knew some other people also who did not study much for different reasons. They were chasing, love or whatever they were chasing, or they were drinking, smoking, whatever. But eventually what used to happen is that people did not study for 3 years or 4 years of engineering, first 3 years just getting by. In the final year, we used to have this thing called as placement, right, where companies come and hire you. Since my college was one of the whatever perceived best college in the state, or we used to have a lot of big companies come for the placement and hire people. So all these students like me who did nothing in the first 3 years, just got by, they used to drop everything in their life and study for 4 5 months, Manoj, like hell, like hell. The reason being,
Just to get placed.
yes, placed with the best possible company with
Yeah.
the best possible package. And since our college was such a reputed one, no matter how bad student you were, if you just worked hard a bit, gave good interviews, you would get too much money at that time. I did not even do that because simply because like these other students who were not interested in computer, at least money worked for them. When it came to the final year placements, there was money on the table, and that got them motivated. They stopped smoking and whatever fucking around, and they started studying. Studied for a few months, day and night, and got that package, and voila, life was set for them. They just went from strength to strength, and I'm sure they most of them earn much more than me. But that did not work for me at all. Like my motivation did not change because of the money on the table. So I ended up accepting the least possible salary that was possible at that time, which is actually funny enough, which is pretty much close to what salary you are getting for your part-time job, and mine was full-time job, and in a multinational company. So I did that 1 year, and then I changed for teaching. I love teaching. So I started with a very blessed salary anyway with my first job, and even the work there was not very inspiring. I worked for 1 year somehow because that was always my rule: never leave a company before 1 year. 1 year is the minimum I set myself ever, because when somebody hires you, they also have some plans for you. So I never leave a company for before 1 year. So I worked for 1 year, and then I left the company to become a teacher, and I was being paid one third of the salary that I had in my first job, which was possibly the lowest salary that anybody could get in my college anyway. I did not care because I was 22, maybe 23. So, I, you know, everything was okay. I had a house to live in because of my elder brother, no responsibility as such. So I was like, who cares? I just want to follow my passion, do what I love, money will come. So I did teaching for 3 years. I loved it. It's something Teaching is something that I always, I got it from the God. Like it just was in the blood. I never had to do anything. I just went there and I started teaching from day one. People liked it. Anyway. So I did teaching for 3 years. So I was teaching programming languages, computer programming languages. The funny story about this is that the things that I was really bad at in my engineering, computer programming topics, which I used to find atrociously difficult or never learned, bothered to learn them, or even for interview sake, did nothing, thought I was not capable of studying them or mastering them. I was teaching the same things 1 year after I passed out. I was literally teaching the same topics to students. Now, because I was teaching them and I had this, I was barely 22 or 23, and I was teaching to undergrads again immediately. But because I had these 20 people sitting in front of me, looking up to me for some reason, that I'm going to, get them jobs by teaching them something that their college wasn't teaching them, whatever. I learned them. I learned those things, Manoj, which I did not learn in my own school to get a job or to get placed in Microsoft or any of those things. So I learned them because I wanted to help them, to teach them. And I taught it. I could do everything that I couldn't do 1 year back. I could do miraculously, I could solve all the programs, do everything, teach them. And I'm pretty sure that most of my students in computer science, when I taught them, because of me or learning from me, they got higher packages than I could have ever imagined. But I didn't care. I didn't care because I was teaching people. I used to laugh, make them laugh, show them movies in Java programming or something like this. Literally, I used to use this as a movie projector. Broke all the rules of every institute I taught in. Like rules in the sense, like nobody expected me to learn, show movies in the programming language class, but I did that because I just wanted to be a storyteller. I just wanted to make people laugh or happy, and then still teach them, obviously. Nonetheless, I did that for 3 years. I learned, like, I don't know, 7 8 technologies, different technologies, just by teaching them. And I was really making very very less amount of money. Like I was still making the same money that I had started my career on after 3 years of working as a teacher. So total experience 4 years, and my final salary after 4 years was same as my first salary after I graduated. So that I then said that, okay, for the first time I wanted to see how does it feel to have a little bit of money. But the problem in India is that once you become a teacher, they don't let you become a programmer or immediately. They don't consider you a serious person because you became a teacher. And because in India, most people become teachers because they are unable to do or find something, something that they wanted. So that's a perception, unfortunately. So I battled through that. So what I did was, instead of wasting my time in convincing people through speeches like this, which I guess I'm wasting my time right now also, I I inspired three of my students. I was teaching in a college. I inspired those who were in the second year BCA, like they must be like 18, 19 or something, and I was myself 24 or 25 or something. So I managed to inspire three of my students, and I sold them this vision, like sort of I'm selling you now. I said, I want to go back as a programmer and I want to make much more money, but I can't because people don't give me a job because I'm a teacher and they think that I'm useless. So let's do one thing. Let's create some sort of application like Facebook or YouTube or Google, something like social media application. And let's do it so amazingly well that whenever we go to interview, instead of telling them my teaching thing, I can just show them the application, and they will be so, impressed by what we have done, that they will give me job. Now same thing will happen to you. You are in BCA second year. If you follow the traditional path, you will get placed maximum in Infosys or TCS, and they will offer you the poultry salary that I got offered 4 years back. But if you do this with me, and if you give your blood and sweat, you will create this application which is so cool, so awesome. You'll learn so many things that you will never ever learn in your college ever. And you can find jobs which will pay you much better than the traditional, what you would say, debutant or fresher salary. So all of us agreed that that's a good idea, and they obviously respected me a lot as a teacher. So they said, okay, we can only learn. The worst thing that can happen is we learn a lot of things. We learn how to make Facebook or something like that, and then maybe we may not find a job for whatever reason, but at least we'll have the skills. And I was the same. Like, I want a job, so we'll do this. So those three students and me, for 6 months, I left my job, and for 6 months I was just guiding them, and we were coding day and night. We were just programming. So, Social Network is a movie that is about the origin story of Facebook and all the things that went right or wrong. Anyway, so that was our inspiring movie. We were coding all the time. It's like it started in my bedroom. So this was happening in June 2014, and we were creating this app, social media app, and somebody came up with the name. I think it was me or somebody, I don't remember exactly. Somebody came up with the name BBarters. Why BBarters is because this application was supposed to change internet, in a sense that what we said is internet is all about downloading stuff. Like everybody, we used to download things like songs, illegal movies, documents, study material, everything. Internet was all about pay the money per month and download stuff. But very few people used to upload things. Very few people were content creators. Most of people were content consumers. So we thought we could change the world. Of course, you always think that when you are in that age, and that thing. We wanted to change the world. So we wanted to create a platform where you can only download things if you upload something. Like, you give something back to the society or the internet users, and then you get things in return. So we that is why this was equivalent to the modern barter system. I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of the barter system, right, Ishita?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the concept, that we'll have some users on the platform. We will offer them something like exam papers or cheat code or movies or songs or videos. But the only way you can watch it or download it is if you actually also upload some other content. And to manage this, we invented something called as IFC, which stands for info currency. Usually nowadays, if you see, you need to pay subscription for Netflix or YouTube or something. You pay subscription charges, and then you can consume the content. So we said, you don't give us money, but we still have a currency called as info currency, IFC. So you upload things and somebody uses that thing, then you get deposited with some currency, and using that currency you can now consume somebody else's content on the platform. was the original BBarters 1.0. This was this was in May 2014. So I'm going to show you some screenshots of what it looked like. The name was BBarters, which stands for BE, like a verb, B barters. And the tagline was don't be users, be barters. So don't be traditional users who download things, be barters, give and take. So that was the concept. This looks like one of those profile pages, initial profile pages. And this, if you go to old petrol pumps in India, you'll have this kind of like meters, which are like analog meters of, they will, like animate, and they will, it will start from zero. And if you say 1 liter petrol or whatever, 2 liter, it will just go and flip like that. Do you remember? Has anybody seen something like this?
Yeah, we have.
So that was the animation actually. Now I can't show you the animation because the site is not live anymore. But that was the animation, and you used to see your, this was your IFC. Then I think this was your best content available sorted by this. Then this was the home page, I believe, one of the home pages. Yeah, this was another home page. This is something that you could download. And we had some variations of the profile pages because so this was my home page, and then the meter shifted here. This was another variation of homepage. So these are my interests. Like this is the kind of content that my profile is creating, and this is my IFC, which is pretty less, I guess. And you can see that we had purchased the domain by this point. I think bbarters.com. It actually matched the exact name, like bbarters.com and downloads or something. So we had that domain actually, the exact name of the company. This was one of my best animations I had done. So this was your landing page. Like once you type bbarters.com, you would land here. And these boxes used to turn, like they were like a 3D kind of things, and they used to turn. And this is your cost of this resource. Like you would need to pay 300 IFCs to consume this resource. And this is another landing page. So we had categorized the content into just out, trending, recommended. This is the, again, I guess, the landing page. It was carousels, again bbarters.com. Now the logo is already changing a bit. There was a slight animation used to be here, and this is one more one more of the profile page. You can see how handsome or not so handsome I look in this photograph. This was supposed to be this, you give us your interest, and you will fit some pictures from internet to make up your profile page. Like if you mention football or whatever, like football or Messi, would automatically come up with your profile page or something. And then we had, obviously, eventually we started adding features like friends and followers and a lot of things like that. So it became pretty big. I mean, functionality wise, not big as in famous. Oh, we used to have Google result, yeah. So apparently, when somebody should Google BBarters, we were the thing. BBarters.com. Uh, it's a social sharing platform where information trading is done by the means of IFCs. Everything is free here, yet you won't get anything for free. So yeah, pretty. I don't know. uh, Brings me back into the, 2014.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you're talking about 2014, you were definitely on to something. I want to know what happened next.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So yeah, this is very interesting, and you know, comparing your work with 2014, where we were just having Orkut. Like Ishita said, I really want to know what happened. Why do you stop this? This was like the next big thing. Like you might be the first one, like Scrib. Okay, we
Storytelling.
are waiting for the twist now.
Okay. So yeah. So this was BBarters 1.0. I'll show you some people. He was a student. We used to use the company I used to work in before resigning. We used to use their resources. In fact, I convinced the CEO of the company to. I resigned from the company where I was teaching, and I convinced the CEO that let me use the space of the company to do these things. I don't know why, and he said yes, you can do. I mean, I was not getting salary, but I was still going in the office and using the space to, because we had a small team, and then most of it was happening in my bedroom also. So all these students used to come, and there was a plastic table which is still there in my room, and we used to just code and code and code and code. And yeah, and this was the space that my company had left given me for a few months to use, and I used to code again. So yeah, this went on for 6 months, BBarters 1.0. And midway through, as I said, the starting motivation was that I wanted to get a programming job with much better salary because I was teaching. So I wanted to show through this app that I can code and I can do something really nice. So that was always the primary motivation. But midway through the journey, after 3 months of working day and night, we started dreaming. We started literally believing that we can end up changing the world or whatever. Like we can at least end up changing the way people use internet. And we started really dreaming at some point of time. At least I don't know about the students, but I was dreaming at that point, and that only propelled me to work even more, like 14, 15 hours a day. Yeah. The only problem was I was 24, or I don't know, 24 and a half or 25, and we were just passionate. We had a lot of coding. We were just learning. We did not even, we are not naturally good coders. We were just learning books and, you know, yeah, copy paste, no matter what. But just driven. But we did not have any business plan. We did not have any MBA, no marketing plan, nothing. Like nobody thought of how to actually do it. All we were interested in creation, technology, basically, and the belief that this will work or this might work. But obviously, we did not have any money or investment or business plan or any of those things that people need. So, and those were students. They were like even younger than me, and I was myself not very old. So we did this for 6 months, and at one point of time, everyone was super exhausted. One by one, people started dropping out because they couldn't work for more than 16 hours a day or something. It went to that level where people just said, I have exams, I have to finish my BCA or something. And at one point of time, I was working alone in the end, and I still kept going. And my only aim was to publish the site, like make it public, and get some users, like 5,000, 6,000 users. And then I was praying to God that things will automatically pick up, and it becomes something. So what did we do? Of course, we do not have any money, no marketing, no MBA, nothing, like no idea how to promote or market. So I went back to the only thing I knew I had, teaching, the thing that God gave me since always. So I went back, and I created some videos in my bedroom, and let me show you those videos. So this was one of the oldest. This All of these are old ones. Okay, so this, all of these are all shot in my bedroom, because that's the only way I could have attracted any kind of users, like any number of users. So I shot some videos like this, and as you can see, this was 8 years ago, and yeah, you should go through the comments on these videos. They're quite funny. After 6 years, still no comparison. Best video ever, whatever. But they're pretty good actually. This used to be my morning routine once upon a time. I used to go through the comments and feel good about myself. But anyway, so I did this, and the video wasn't an instant popular, because like YouTube takes time. You don't just put a video and you don't get, like, people don't watch it. So we got some video users though, 500, 600 users, initial users. What we used to do is to put the video, and we used to say, if you want to download the slides or whatever is there in the video, like the resource, come to the site, like the bbarters.com, and then we would entice them to that model. You want to download, upload something. So we wanted to entice people from YouTube to our site, and then once they are there and they are desperate for the resource that we are offering, hopefully they will also create something, and thus they will become barters. But as you might have already guessed, we got some users, 500,000 whatever, from these videos to the site. All of them downloaded whatever they wanted, and they never came back. So we were having all these registrations, but no traffic. Like they used to come, they used to download, and they used to never visit again. Of course, that's how world is. So we got some users, but then I saw the, what you would say, I saw the writing on the wall that this is not gonna work. It's people are just gonna come and download. They're not gonna upload anything. So the concept of barter system wasn't working. And at this time I was already 7 months into joblessness and just working like 12 hours a day. And I had fulfilled my mission, like my primary objective. I had created website or a web app which was features of Facebook, features of YouTube, features of you name it. We had everything. Uh, we did so many features that it will take me 2 hours just to tell you about all the features. But anyway, point is, at some point of time, I also got exhausted, and I said, "Let's get a job that I wanted to get." And then I gave some interviews. My salary increased like I don't know 5 times from my teaching salary. People were pretty impressed by the app. During the interviews, I used to show them the app, and I started my development journey like as a developer. I even did not renew the domain BBarters.com, so the domain got cancelled. In fact, even today that domain is parked. I think company just parked the domain and they just then ask you to pay double amount of money to get the domain back. But anyway, that was stupid of me. I should have at least continued with the domain. It wouldn't have cost me much, but I lost the domain. That was the loss of domain. I got a job which paid really well. It was a startup. I learned a lot, got exhausted again, made a lot of money. But I started learning Spanish because of the exhaustion, because I was becoming just a tech person, like, those traditional tech people. And that was never, ever my idea of life. So I started learning Spanish on the weekends just because I wanted to get my mind off programming. And my dream always has been to make movies or to write movies. That was always my, what you would say, ever since I was in my graduation, the bachelor's. I wanted to write movies. I used to watch thousands of movies I don't know, hundreds of movies every year. But I could never commit to it. I would write some movies, go to Mumbai, show it to some producer, director, here, there, but nothing was really working out. And this was all going on while I was always working full time because my parents were not rich ever. So I had to always fend for myself. At some point of time, after 2 years of working in the IT company, like the startup, I coded again really good. We created another application for American doctors. It went well, but I got exhausted. I learned Spanish, and I finally wanted to commit because I had made money in 2 years, saved a lot of it, and it did not really work. Like the making money for the first time, like a substantial amount of money, did not give me any joy, any it did not change my life anyway. I was like, yeah, I made money like others, but what? I'm not happy. Like it's what it is. If in fact going to Spanish class every weekend. People used to just sleep after working for 5 days in a startup. I used to go to Spanish class and have fun and everything. That gave me much more joy than my money and my the programming and whatever I was doing. So I learned Spanish for 2 years. Started speaking it probably the first in my class because I'm very interested in the natural languages. And this dream of writing movies was still something that I never committed to. Always thought, always worked on, but never committed. So I quit my job again, and this time to follow my writing passion. I got accepted into UCLA Los Angeles for a screenwriting program of 1 year. It was expensive, but I had to save the money. My parents flat out refused to either support me or whatever. Like it was a suicide mission for them. Like, you should not leave the job, the first job that you have got, where you are making some money, like money that Indian parents think is a good enough money, and you are leaving that in 2 years to go write movies. Very good. You know you're gonna become a drug addict, aren't you? So so I went to US, like UCLA, alone again, on my own, paid for everything from my savings. And that wasn't enough because Los Angeles is super expensive. So I used to work in a restaurant there, in the school restaurant, like the university restaurant. I used to wash dishes for minimum wage. Yeah, that was difficult. The education was awesome. Like that was the time that I realized education can be, like, I had lost all faith in the Indian education system because I was from one of the most, what you would say, renowned colleges in India. It was really shit. Like teachers were bad, like bad. So in UCLA, I found some really good teachers. They motivated me. They were really good. A lot of good things happened. Like I worked part time as a restaurant worker, washed dishes, used to take out trash can, like trash from the thing. Did all kinds of jobs. Anything which required lifting things was my job. But anyway, that was a minimum wage. I used to basically, my knees used to burnt out by the time I used to finish my 5 hour shift. But that's the money that kept me going because I used to pay rent using that, and then my savings I used for program fees and other expenses. I did that, enjoyed it, learned a lot, but the issue was I realized I'm not that good a writer that I thought I was. Quality of work my classmates were producing was so much better than mine, so much, much, much better. And even they were struggling to make any impact in the industry, like the Hollywood. Like they were not getting any leads, and I was already much worse than them what they were writing. So there was no way that it was going to take a lot of time for me. I had to struggle for quite a few years and keep reading, keep writing, keep living, and maybe I would write something decent, which I don't know. Again, even after writing something decent, there's no guarantee that you will make it, because it depends on so many permutations and combinations, right? Like you need to meet the right people at the right time and a lot of things like that. So you really have to be a dreamer, like Nawazuddin Siddiqui or something like that. Only then it can happen for somebody from middle class. Like you really have to be at it like for years and years, and then you can make it happen. But I was already approaching almost like 30 by that point, by the time I was finishing UCLA. And I was now getting sadder because I'd worked so hard for so many years in Spanish, programming, teaching, everything. I was always used to give my 100% to everything. So I was getting a bit tired. And then all through this, I couldn't sustain very good relationships, like romantic relationships. So I was also getting a bit sad. Like I did not have anybody. And my parents never understood anything like dreams or anything. So they were just like, you are bad. Like, why do you keep on doing this? Why do you keep on leaving jobs like this and stuff like that? So I had to basically use my self motivation all the time to do things. So I came back to India, and the plan was to go to Mumbai, use UCLA brand name, the degree I got, and start working a bit here and there writing. I had some friends who were actors or writers in Mumbai. So I thought, I'll start small, use the UCLA, because Indians have this thing for big universities in US. They get you some work, small work. But when I came to India from US, I realized that I was almost 30, and I was like, I cannot struggle right now. I don't have it in me. I will break. I'll just break. And there's no point in breaking. And the good news about writing is that I learned everything. I learned so much in 1 year, like what I need to do to become a writer, like a better writer. All those things I learned. The learning was there, but there was nothing to show for it. Like there's no result. And my parents, for sure, out of a good point, they are not bad people. Like from a good place, they, especially my dad, I believe, ridiculed me like hell. Like, oh, you used to talk big, you were going to win Oscar, huh? What happened, huh? So you thought you're the screenwriter. Whoa, now you are leaving it after 1 year. What happened to dream? What happened to your, how much money did you make out of it? So yeah, they ridiculed me like to no end, because I used to talk big. I used to talk. I was a big mouth. I used to say I'll follow my dreams. I will not live the 9 to 5 job or whatever life. I will not become one of you or whatever. My fault. So I must have said those things. So they came back to me, and they made sure that I knew that I had not succeeded, to say the least. Uh, so there we are at this point of time. So any questions, comments, any like, do you have any, I don't know, say something like sahanubhuti for this guy at this point of time? No comments? Are you guys all sleeping? Are you watching Facebook, or like are you on other tabs? Like, am I talking to myself?
No, we are listening, and it's
No,
like,
no, no, we are listening.
it seems like we are watching a movie. Person who started to rise, and then suddenly went to another direction. Then there was a downfall, and it's quite interesting. You have a very, roller coaster life, I would say. Your life
Yeah,
is still a, roller coaster.
yeah,
You may not have written a script for a movie, but you sure as hell wrote a good script for yourself.
yeah. Thank you. I wish my parents had said these things when I came back, but they did not. They did not. Anyway, so I came back. I wanted to go to Mumbai and do my struggle, and get. I was confident that I could improve as a writer and make something happen. But as I said, I was already struggling on many fronts: relationships, with parents, with others. By the time you're 30 in India, people start getting married off. So I was losing my friends. Most of them were moving out to other countries. My brother had moved out to US long back. Uh, so yeah, I was not having many friends by that time. Those who left in India were getting married, so they did not have any time for me. So it was getting weird. So yeah, instead of getting into that situation where I could have broken down, I decided to immigrate. I thought, I cannot live in this place in Pune where I always lived. I thought, let's go, and I wanted to go back to US because I wanted to make it in Los Angeles. That remained a dream. So I wanted to go back to US. The issue with US is that it's a very weird immigration system. Like it takes time, and mostly you have to do masters. I did not do masters in UCLA. It was a diploma program. So you have to do masters, and then it takes like 5 7 years for you to get, I don't know, H1B and then whatnot and whatnot. So I was already 30, so I did not have that option of doing masters in US and then work for 10 years to get the green card or whatever. So I thought, you know what, let's go to Canada because Canada used to be very simple immigration wise. Like you create a profile, you get a bunch of points, and you directly get the green card, like the PR card. And so you move there. So my plan was to go to Canada and find a loophole in the system and end up in US and go to Los Angeles and do what I guess I'm destined to do, is to write nice movies. So that was the plan. So the only issue was I did not have master. I had only bachelor and a diploma. And Canadian system works on age. Canadian immigration system works on age and the education level and bunch of other things like French and English thing. You should know this because you are now working in a company which we help people for Canadian immigration. So according to Canada, I was not a good enough candidate. I was too old, I guess, to be a good labor. Uh, I did not have masters. That means I was not intelligent, and I only spoke English. Although I had a very good level in English, like C1, so I had maxed out the points you get for that. The only way I could have gone to Canada is by learning speaking French. And I was like, why did I learn Spanish? Like I could have invested 2 years in French and I would have just gone to Canada right away. But of course, I had to learn Spanish, which I really like even today. I mean, I speak it. But yeah. So the point was, even Canadian immigration, which is supposed to be easy, and most people used to get at that time, most people, my friends or whoever, used to just get it, like apply and get it. I was not good enough even for that. So, so I was like, okay, what do I do? So I started learning French and I gave myself 9 months, whatever, to get it done because the immigration thing used to take 6 months, like application to getting PR. So I thought I can only wait for 1.5 years. I can only struggle for 1.5 years. After that, I'll go into super depression. So I had set myself a target of 9 months to get this done, to learn French. I did not speak French at all. I mean, I did not even know alphabets of French. Maybe bonjour or maybe merci. I don't know. So I started. The only thing was I spoke Spanish, and I thought it will help because they're similar languages, and it did, obviously. I started learning French day and night. By the way, I had to get another job in India because I had exhausted all my savings in Los Angeles, and my parents were like, "You go on whatever you want to do. Don't expect a penny from us," which is fair enough because I was almost 30. So I got another job, software job again, in Pune, to recuperate my savings and live and also save for Canada if I need to go there. I started learning French. So I used to do full-time job and then French. That's all I did for 1 year, like 10 months. That's it. Just French and job. Even at job, I used to study a lot. It was tough, pretty tough actually. No life, no weekends, nothing. So all I did was French. But fortunately, I don't know, like I did not even know somebody who had done something like this. I mean, conventional wisdom would say that you don't learn French in 9 months. Like it takes more than that. I mean, in this exam, you really need to learn it to B2 level. Like it's not Delph. Like Delph, nobody fails Delph, more or less. This is not this exam. A lot of people fail it. So it's not like it's like IELTS for French. So it's not an easy exam. And I did not know anybody who had passed this exam. We did not have any coaching available for that exam in Pune or Mumbai, in fact. So it was very, like pretty much like a shooting in the dark. The only thing I knew was I love languages. And I have learned Spanish, and French sounds awesome. C'est une langue très belle à écouter. So that I knew that this is a beautiful Beautiful, beautiful language. And that's it. I once again took a risk, uh, put all my eggs in the only basket I had, uh, or whatever imaginary basket I had. Again, my parents were pretty not happy because they wanted me to get married. By the way, I have found a job again, as I told you. Again, was paying decent money. So they thought finally he has come back to his senses and making some decent money. So all sins are forgiven. If we can get back on track, still all is not lost. And then just when they were thinking that, I was like, no, I'm going to learn French in 9 months and I'm going to go to Canada. So I did that. Actually, learned day and night. I studied. At this point of time, Soha comes into the picture, and so another person whose name is Shubham was also the one of the first employees of BBarters. That is BBarters 2.0, which I'm going to talk about in 2 minutes. So Soha, I met at the Alliance Francaise Pune. I used to basically ask anyone and everyone that I used to find whatever like talkative or speaking French to speak French with me so that I could practice because my Alliance teacher was shit. Like I always got the worst teachers in my life, always for some reason. And she was really bad. So and the students were hopeless in my class. They used to check WhatsApp for 2 hours. Nobody spoke any French. I only joined Alliance for B1 because I did not have time. Like I did not have like the Alliance time, like 4 months for one level. For that, I had 9 months to go from zero to hero. So I only joined them for B1, and the only reason I only joined them for only one reason, that is to find a study partner with whom I can speak in or practice French. But even that was pretty tough. I asked like 20 people. In fact, if Soha, you remember, some people also called me pedophile or something, right? Because I was asking them to speak French with me or practice French with me.
Yeah.
So that also happened. uh, but yeah, I was relentless. I was relentless. I would ask anyone and everyone. People would show up sometimes to study, like online, not at my home, and never come back. Most of them were useless because Allianz is like that. Like people go there to hobby or whatever. They don't give a shit. I was like, French is life. That was my attitude. I found fortunately Soha, and we used to speak French after the class. She was in your separate class, right? You were in separate batch, not in my batch. So we used to speak after class, and herself and Shubham, who was the employee number one, sort of BBarters, he himself had like A1, A2 level in French, but he was just willing to study with me for a lot of time. And because of these two people, I continued. And another girl I met online, her name is Chloe, and she used to live in Marseille. And I found her on some app, and she helped me a lot, like practicing. So Soha, Chloe, and Shubham, they helped me a lot in this journey, and I passed my exam after 9.5 months with the CLB 7 score, B2 and C1, and I just did it. Like I was so proud of myself. A lot of hard work mostly, and I applied for Canadian immigration. This is in January 2020. January, yeah, January. Or my application went in Feb 15, Feb 15 or something, Feb 18. My application went after getting these results and everything. And usually it used to take 5 months for Canada to process your application. And February 2020, I applied, and I was like, yes, Sifini, I'm done. I have done the impossible. I have learned French in 8 months, 9 months, and done this. Now I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go to Los Angeles or whatever. And voila! 1 month after that, we had Bhuto na Bhavishyati pandemic, which nobody saw coming. And Canada suspended the processing of applications. Like they just stopped. They just stopped. Nothing. Like we don't care. We don't want anybody to come into our country or whatever. Like just stopped. And that was indefinite. There was no communication. Like we will see when the pandemic gets over. Who knew at that point when does the pandemic gets over? So I waited. I waited for a few months, and then I realized that I love French. I really, really love French. I like it. It sounds really nice. I speak it really well. I'm not perfect, obviously. I was basically barely B2. I was just good enough to get the exam score, but I was not B2. Um, I was maybe B1 or maybe something like that. But I like it and I love teaching. And I've never had the opportunity to teach natural language. I always have thought Java, programming, all these technologies, but I never actually ever taught a natural language. And my teaching was always about storytelling, telling stories. And when you teach technology, there's not much scope for storytelling because computers are very unambiguous. Like they have facts. Like you cannot just make up Salman Khan, Shah Rukh Khan story and teach programming because literally every line in programming means something concrete. There's no confusion. There's no ambiguity. Even with that, I used to teach with Shah Rukh Khan, Rajpal Singh, and whatnot and whatnot. But I had this opportunity right now to teach French, where it's a natural language. So I could cook up any stories. Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, Falana Trump, Joshi Master, make these characters up and come up with stories and just have fun. And that was so enticing. That was so enticing. But then again, conventional wisdom would say that I had basically no right to teach French because I was barely 9 months into French. Like I had studied French for 9 months. So you do not become French teacher after 9 months of studying French. So conventional wisdom would say I have zero rights to teach French, but I didn't care. I just wanted to teach. That's my passion, and I love French. So come April 2020, waiting for 3 months after the pandemic, I started teaching French. It just started with one person, like one or two students, like two people I knew that who wanted to immigrate to Canada, similar position. I said, you know what? I have done it recently. I love it. I like French. I don't want to lose French. So why don't I teach you? And you, from student perspective, I'm not an expert. I don't even have DELF certification. So I'll teach you from student perspective. I think that will help. And you can also do your alliance and whatever you want to do. But I'll bring you my perspective. I'll share my resources. I'll do everything what I did. And that's it. So I started with two. Two become four in 2 months. Four became eight, 2 months. Like people were just telling their friends or something and they were just coming. And Aishwarya was seventh or eighth student in after a few months' time. And that's where Aishwarya comes into picture. By the time Aishwarya joined, the original students I had, like 4 5, had sort of like dropped off. Like in a sense, ki it's very demanding to learn French in 8 9 months. It's very demanding. You really have to study like 3 4 hours a day on average. Yeah, they were attending some of them, but they were not studying enough to make it. So I was losing interest also because I badly wanted them to succeed. So I was losing energy, and Aishwarya came, and she had this incredible work ethic, like incredible. Like because of her, we could sustain that batch sort of. Like, she and one more student called as Jasjit, they used to do assignments and put the when I used to give them notes, like we have this notes assignment where we ask people to make notes based on topic. I remember Aishwarya used to make notes of like 20 pages on one topic and so immaculately written, like beautiful handwriting, everything to the detail, like, and that gave me so much energy and inspiration to carry on because I wanted people to work hard. I always wanted people to work hard in my life because I work hard. I work very hard. And when students were not doing it, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, where is this going? Like, all my energy and everything is going nowhere. So Aishwarya literally saved that batch, like that first batch, because that gave me a lot of energy to continue and, like to continue and to finish what I started in April. And by the time we finished, I loved it. I just love teaching. I always love teaching. That's not a secret, but it was amazing. It went much better than I thought it would go. And then we started BBarters 2.0, officially registered a company in November 2020 again. Still in pandemic. I was still working full time as software, so I was doing both. Like right now, like I'm doing here. And in we November 2020, we registered a company, and that's BBarters 2.0. Same name, same logo, same tagline. We did not change because I never left the dream, sort of like 2014 thing that stayed with me. Like it was a big dream at some point of time, and even though ended up making money, the dream got killed in between. Like it went nowhere. So I was like, let's at least use the name, like at least so that way I will just tell myself that I did something with BBarters. So we used the name BBarters. We lost the domain. I told you the domain lost in the sense I stopped paying for it and they just parked it. And then they were asking me triple, four, five amount of money to get the domain back. So I was like, I'll change the domain, and we got BBarters now instead of just BB. We got BE, proper like BEbarters.com. So it was a business now, not like a coaching. It was like sort of company. Shubham, Soha were the two first employees that joined. Um, None of us had any business or any, I would say, right to even start a company for teaching French. Because as I said, even at this point of time, I was just like 1.5 years into French. So there was no way by conventional logic or wisdom that I should be even teaching French, let alone making money out of it. But yeah, I did not care because I'm a very passionate teacher. I love teaching. It's all storytelling. It's that's all it is. And I care for my students. So we started company 2020 November. I was still working full time, and I'll show you something. So this is the version of our website on 24th November 2020. This is very close to launch of company. It's like 15th November company got registered, or 11th November. By the way, I mean, I was teaching since April, but we actually formalized it in November, because we wanted to now expand it to, you know, we wanted to get more students and stuff like that. So this is the website. It looked like this. It was the landing page, and these were our first batch student. As you can see, Aishwarya is also there. Their feedback, and then we went to admissions, and we have this page. Now I really want you to read this. Can you guys read? Can you guys see this enough to read it? Like, can you? Is it font good enough?
Done.
Okay,
Yeah, done.
let's go to the yeah. Uh, yeah, just I'll read it so that we don't. You won't get B2 plus score just by attending our programs. These are accelerated program. How accelerated? European language standards demand that a student takes 450 hours of language lessons to reach B2 level. The total duration of our sessions is 90 hours. Thus, our programs is 5 times faster than normal French language course. This has some implication. You need to work 5 times harder. Not everything can be covered in 90 hours. So programs are designed to cover the most important topics. Rest you will do. If you don't keep up with the pace of the program will leave you behind. So think twice before joining. Our programs demand consistent and rigorous effort. As a TEF aspirant, you cannot outsource your efforts to any institute or teacher. And then we had a lot of rules, like if you don't score 75% and 70% in each, like we had divided the whole thing in a season. And if you don't score that much, we will kick you out. And we wrote it. We literally wrote it as it is, like whatever came to our mind, we just wrote it. Like we'll kick you out and whatever. And there's bunch of rules and shit. And yeah. So I mean, again, naivety, like this is not how you market yourself. Like you don't say you're not the expert, you don't say we'll kick you out, we don't say that you'll have to work 5 times harder, you don't say that you cannot outsource your teacher, you don't expect anything from us, we don't provide results. This is not how marketing is done, Manoj. If you go to baiju.com, you will see exactly everything in reverse. Come to us, you'll get 14 crore package in Google. You get it, right? Like marketing is reverse exactly.
Yeah.
We are weird, like we were weird. And God knows who approved this website. Of course, it was me. It was November 2020. And doing this like this, we still had 50 students in like, I don't know, 10 days, 10, 15 days. We got 50. And yeah, it took off. It just took off. It just took off. There was zero investment. Like my investment in BBarters was literally, okay, company registration cost was like 1,000 rupees, maybe, and some consultation with CA or something, maybe 2,000, something like that. I bought a stamp, like a rubber stamp to, that is like 70 rupees. Overall, the investment was like 2,000 rupees. And everything was income from day one. Like everything was profit. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I had made so much money in 2 months, like of launch, like 2, 3 months. Like never seen so much money in 1 month in my life. Like literally, because I never earned money. Like I never earned a lot of money. But and even then, even with this kind of thing, we only limited to 12 students per batch. Like we had 2 batches, 12, 12. That's it. Everybody else has to go to some other, like a passive program where I'm not teaching live. Like they'll just see the recordings. But only 24 students were taken in the main program. And then That's how it was.